Dear class 10, I am here again with the continuation of chapter number 8, that is circulatory system. Today in this session we will see the heart, human heart, right, and associated blood vessels, alright, and also we'll see the blood circulation through the human heart, okay, and also the functions of the valves. You see a number of valves out there. They all have their some functions there, and we'll see all of them today in this session. Okay, so as you all know that human circulatory system consists of the heart, all right, and the blood vessels, all right, then even your what you call your fluid substance like blood, primarily your blood. So these are the things that you find there in the circulatory system. Okay, so this is what I have drawn out here is the main part of your circulatory system, which is called the heart, and this heart is also called the pumping organ. Okay, heart is the pumping organ. Heart, the pumping organ. Pumping organ. Okay, the pumping organ, which means the heart is the one which collects the blood and distributes it to different parts of the body. Okay, so is the pumping organ that you find in the circulatory system. Okay, then we'll see first the location of the heart. So heart is mainly located in the chest cavity. Okay, in the central part of your chest cavity, between the two lungs and above the diaphragm. There is diaphragm. Just above the diaphragm there is a heart. Okay, and it is slightly tilted towards the left side. Okay, actually it's not actually in the left side. People usually think that the heart is the left side, but actually it is not in the left. Okay, it is in the central region of the chest cavity between the two lungs, but slightly tilted. Usually the pointed end which you find down there, that is slightly tilted towards the left side. All right, and usually what happens is that during the working of your heart, especially during the contraction, the jerk is very high at this region, so that it is felt very heavily in this region, so that we feel that the heart is in the left side. Actually it is not in the left side. Okay, that's the location. And it is the covering. The heart is covered by a double membranous covering called pericardium. Okay, or it is called pericardium. Okay, pericardium. So this pericardium is a double membranous covering. All right, so that encloses the heart. And since, as I've told you, pericardium contains two membranes there. It is double membranous covering. All right, so in between these two coverings there is a fluid substance. There is a fluid substance to avoid the friction during the contraction of the heart. There is every chance of the friction between these two coverings of the heart. So in order to avoid it, there is a fluid substance called pericardial fluids. It's called what? Pericardial fluid. Okay, pericardial fluid that you find in between the two membranes of this pericardium. Okay, then and the function of this pericardial fluid is also to protect the heart from the different kinds of mechanical injuries also. Okay, and the size of this heart is as big as one's folded fist. Okay, this is the fist. This sized the heart is. All right, this is the location and the covering of the heart. All right, now we'll see the chambers of the heart. We'll see now the chambers of the heart. Chambers of the heart. I just write out here chambers. So human heart is a four-chambered heart. Human heart means all the mammalian heart. All the mammals have four-chambered heart. So we are talking about one of the members of mammal. That means we are a mammal. Okay, so our heart is a four-chambered heart where you find four chambers, as you see there in the diagram also, which is already drawn on the board. So there are four chambers. So these two chambers, as you see out here, see, this is your right auricle, okay, and this is left auricle. Okay, let me write them here. Right atrium. So right atrium means it is also called auricle. Auricle. Perhaps till the last standard you are acquainted with the term called auricle only, but there in class 10 in this standard we are knowing it by the other name also called atrium. Right atrium means right auricle. Then your left atrium, okay. Then comes your, this is left atrium. Then comes your right ventricle, okay, this is your right ventricle. Then number 4, you have got your left ventricle, okay. These are the four chambers you find there in the heart: right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle, left ventricle. So these are the four chambers you find here in this human heart. All right, and see these two sides you see, these two sides of the heart, left side and right side. So from the color that I've used here also makes you understand that, you know, this side is responsible for dealing with the pure blood. Pure blood means, you know, oxygenated blood rich in oxygen, okay, which is usually drawn in red color to indicate that this side the pure blood flows, left side. And in the right side you see the blood, I mean deoxygenated blood which is rich in carbon dioxide, you know, flows. That means this side is dealing with the, and this side is responsible for dealing with the deoxygenated blood, and this side is responsible for dealing with the, you know, pure blood or oxygenated blood, okay. And these two sides, this right and left of the heart, you know, are left side and right sides of the heart are separated by means of this partition called septum. See here, this is called septum. This is the septum which partitions these two sides of the heart, right and left. All right. Then what you can see here is that same these two regions, upper regions and lower regions, which means auricles and ventricles. Okay, atriums and these ventricles are separated, or separated. Let's say separated by means of the valves out here. They have got the valves out here. So these valves in the right side are called tricuspid valves. See here, the region or the valves between this right auricle and right ventricle, you know, is your tricuspid valve. Okay, that means here in between this there is what? Tricuspid valve. Why it is tricuspid means here three flaps or three cups are there, as you see here in the diagram also. Tri means three cups are there which partition or which separate this upper region and lower region of the right side. That means right atrium and right ventricle are separated by means of this tricuspid valve. They have got their own functions, so I'll tell you when I go through these valves only. Okay, so this is there, and in the other side, you find the region which separates this left auricle and left ventricle is called, your bicuspid valve. Here is the bicuspid valve, where you find two cups or two flaps, which is separating this left atrium from the left ventricle. Okay, here is bicuspid, here is tricuspid. All right, and these upper regions, which are called atrium or your auricles, are smaller in size than the ventricles, and also they are provided with the thin muscular wall. They are provided with the thin muscular wall because their function is to receive the blood only. Okay, their function is to receive the different kinds of blood and just to allow them to go down to the ventricle. Okay, that is the function they have got. That's why their muscular wall is very thin. Okay, or thinner compared to the ventricle. But as you see here, the wall of this ventricle is made up of thick, is thick muscular one. Okay, is thicker than the wall of this auricles. Why? Because this ventricle, when gets contracted, okay, or when these ventricles get contracted, then there will be a kind of force pumped. Okay, a heavy force is pumped with which the blood has to be pushed out to the different parts of the body. Okay, not only this small region it has to cover, but it has to send the blood to the tip of the toes, tip of the fingers also. That's why a heavy force has to be pumped, and in order to bear that force, the wall has to be strong enough so that the wall of this ventricle is much thicker than the wall of this auricles. All right. Then let me tell you the functions of these 4 different kinds of chambers of the heart also. See, right atrium, as I've drawn out here, is the one which receives the impure blood. As you see out here, written in bluish color, okay, to indicate that it receives the impure blood or deoxygenated blood through these 2 large veins or large blood vessels called superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Okay, this superior vena cava, I'll talk about it afterwards when I go through the valves also. But let me tell you once again here. See, this upper region called, superior vena cava, the large blood vessel you see, collects the impure blood. Collects the impure blood from the upper region of the body, that is your head, shoulders, okay, hands. So from those regions, the impure blood will be collected by the superior vena cava into the right auricle. That means the function of right auricle is to receive the impure blood from the different parts of the body. So from the upper regions, superior vena cava will be bringing them here, and inferior vena cava from the lower region of the body. Like you see, your lower regions like your trunks, okay, and your legs, from those regions, such impure blood will be collected by this inferior vena cava into this right auricle. Okay, similarly on the other side, you see here, you find your left auricle. See, your left auricle will receive the pure blood. Okay, will receive the pure oxygenated blood from the lungs. See, after the purification, after the purification of the blood in the lungs, they will be collected by the pulmonary veins. Here you see pulmonary veins. Okay, pulmonary veins from right lung. Okay, we have got 2 lungs. Okay, so 2 lungs, then pulmonary veins. Okay, one pair of pulmonary veins will collect the pure blood from right lung into the left auricle, and pulmonary veins again. Pulmonary veins from the left lung collect the pure blood and bring it into the left auricle. Okay, which means you see your left auricle is the one which receive the pure or oxygenated blood from the lungs here. Okay, then I'll tell you again afterwards the mechanism of circulation of blood through the human heart. So that time I'll tell you once again there. So I'm just talking about the functions of the 4 chambers of the heart. Then you see down here, here you find the right ventricle. So right ventricle, the function of right ventricle is to receive the blood coming from here. Okay, after receiving the blood coming from this right atrium or auricle, so this right ventricle will send the impure blood through this. You see, through this is your you see here, through this called your pulmonary artery. pulmonary artery, through this pulmonary artery to the left lung, and the other side of the pulmonary artery to the right lung, pulmonary artery. See now, that means your right ventricle will send the impure blood, okay, to the left lung and the right lung for the purification of the blood, because the blood which has been collected here, okay, is impure, so that blood is to be purified. So that purification of the blood will take place there in the lungs. So this ventricle will send those impure blood or that impure blood to the lungs for purification. Okay, so that will be taken through these two vessels, that is your pulmonary artery and your pulmonary artery. This side will take to the left side, left lung, and this pulmonary artery will take it to the right side of the lung, that means to the right lung. Then similarly on the other side you see the left ventricle. After receiving the pure blood from here, this ventricle will send the pure blood through this artery or aorta. This is your aorta, large, the largest artery. The largest artery is your aorta. So through this aorta, that pure blood, will be sent to the different parts of the body. That means the function of this ventricle is to push out the pure blood to the different parts of the body through this aorta or artery. Okay, that's the functions of your blood vessels. Alright, now the other one is your valves. So from this discussion, what you have understood is that, you see, there are the different kinds of blood vessels. Okay, blood vessels also there. Okay, let us say blood vessels. Blood vessels leaving the heart and entering the heart. This is how it is given there in the book. Okay, blood vessels leaving the heart and entering the heart. Which are the blood vessels, going into the heart, and which are the blood vessels, leaving the heart. Okay, so that's more or less told, but let me tell you once again there very quickly. Say, blood vessels entering the heart. Blood vessels entering the heart. You see, which are the blood vessels, entering the heart? Mainly here, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. See, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So I've told you, superior vena cava will collect the impure blood from the upper regions of the body, that is head, shoulders, like that. And your inferior vena cava will collect the impure blood or deoxygenated blood from the lower regions of the body, like trunks, legs, like that. So into the right auricle. Okay, that means they are entering into the heart with the impure blood. And the other thing is that you see your pulmonary veins from the left lung and pulmonary veins from the right lung, okay, are also entering into the heart. Where? Here in the left auricle. Okay, in the left auricle with the pure blood. With the what? Pure blood. So they are entering into the heart. Okay, then blood vessels leaving the heart. Which are the blood vessels leaving the heart? So these are the ones here. Your aorta, okay, aorta, the largest artery from the left ventricle with the pure blood to the different parts of the body. Okay, it is also going. Okay, aorta. Then what is there? Your pulmonary artery. What is that? Pulmonary artery. See here, pulmonary artery. See, this is a pulmonary artery. Okay, pulmonary artery from the right lung. From the right ventricle. From the right ventricle. This is your left ventricle. Okay, it will carry, your aorta will carry the pure blood from the left ventricle, and here it is called your your pulmonary arteries from the right ventricle. Okay, that means these are the blood vessels leaving the heart. Okay, aorta and pulmonary arteries. Two pulmonary arteries there. One will go to the left lung, the other one will go to the right lung with the impure blood for purification. So these are the blood vessels leaving the heart. Okay, then we have, you see, we have, okay, this is there. Now we have blood vessels leaving the heart also is told. Then we have, there is another blood vessels which is not shown here in the diagram, but it is shown here in the book. Just refer to the book, because I just have to show you from here, because you see page number 99. You see page number 99 there. Okay, so there in this region, there you see, okay, frontal view of the human heart is, you see this figure 8.6. If you see there you see the coronary artery. You can see what? Coronary artery. Okay, something like that. Something like that. You see the shown here. It is here actually. It is something like that here. Okay, that's called your coronary artery. Coronary artery is there. Okay, coronary artery is shown here. Okay, it is shown here. This coronary artery is what? Okay, so there you see both. One is bluish color. Bluish is your coronary vein. Coronary vein. The other one is a coronary artery. One is drawn in the blue color. The other one is drawn in red color to indicate the same only, coronary artery and coronary vein. So coronary artery, which you see here distributed throughout the this your heart, is the one which carries pure blood to the muscles of the heart, because your heart is also an organ made up of number of cells, and all of them require the blood. Okay, it's not that heart is the one which will distribute the blood to the different parts of the body only, but not to itself. It's not that, because it also requires the blood. So for carrying the blood to the wall of the, or to the muscles of the heart, is done by this coronary artery. Okay, coronary artery is the one which will carry the blood to the muscles of your heart. Okay, sometimes what happens is that this coronary artery gets blocked. Okay, it gets what? Blocked. So that time it leads to deadening of the corresponding area of the heart, or okay, corresponding area of the heart. That means whichever area it has. So in those regions, the problem will be caused, which is called deadening of the corresponding area, and also it is called myocardial infarction. Okay, that problem is called myocardial infarction. Okay, myocardial infarction. INFARCTION, infarction, myocardial infarction. So you can see the book also there. It is there. Myocardial infarction will be there, which is commonly called heart attack. Heart attack. You must be knowing this problem called heart attack. A number of people, every year lose their life because of the heart attack. So how it happens? It happens mainly when this coronary artery gets blocked. So that time this heart attack is caused. Okay. Similarly, there is your coronary vein. Coronary vein is also there, which will collect the impure blood. Okay, from the walls of the heart. Okay, and send it to the right. Send it to the your lung for the purification. This it brings to the right atrium, and from right atrium it is sent to the lungs for purification. This is how it happens there. And another problem is also there, which is called Enzyma Pectoris. Another problem, Enzyma Pectoris. Another problem is there, related to this only. It's called Enzyma Pectoris, in which what happens is that there will be chest pain. Enzyma Pectoris is a disease where there is a pain in the heart due to the insufficient supply of blood to the muscles of the heart. That means when the supply of blood is not enough, is not sufficient to the muscles of the heart, then this problem is caused. That is called enzyma pectoris. Okay, then the heart gets acutely pained. Okay, so that kind of problem will be there. So that is related to that one. Okay, so that's all about this your coronary veins, which are also shown there in the diagram, but I could not show here in this diagram, but it is there in the book. All right, then we'll see another thing, that is your valves. We'll see valves. Then we'll see valves. There are, as I've told you, there are mainly here 4 different kinds of valves, in fact, and they all have their own functions. See, let us begin with this tricuspid valve. As I've told you before also, the valve between this right auricle and right ventricle, there is a valve called tricuspid valve. Okay, tricuspid valve, and it is tricuspid because it has 3 flaps or 3 cups. All right. Then similarly on the other side, between this left auricle and left ventricle, there is a bicuspid valve where only 2 cups are there or 2 flaps are there. All right. The function of this tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve is to make the flow of blood in one direction only. In one direction only. That means which direction? Towards the ventricle. Towards what? The ventricle. Corresponding, towards the respective ventricles. Okay, so it will, so once it gets contracted, then it will open so that the blood will come down to the ventricles. Okay, then when these ventricles get contracted, when it has to supply the blood to the different parts of the body, or heavy force is from that time, these 2 valves will be closed so that the blood does not go back to the auricle. Okay, there is a when you think that there would be the chance that the blood would be flowing back to the auricles, but it doesn't happen. So because of these valves will be closed that time so that blood will not be flowing back to the auricles. That's the functions of this your tricuspid valves and bicuspid valves. The other 2 types of valves you find out here, called your semilunar valves of pulmonary artery. Semilunar valve, here it is there. Semilunar valve of this pulmonary artery, and your semilunar valves of aorta here. See, both sides. Okay, they also have got the valves. So the function of them is also the same. That is to allow the blood to flow only in one direction. That means when the blood has to go up, okay, has to go to the different parts of the body away from the heart, then it will allow them, then it will not allow the blood to come back to the ventricles again. Okay, so it will be closed that time, then the blood will not come down. The function of this similar valves of aorta and the similar valves of this your pulmonary artery is to make the flow of blood only in one direction and not to allow the blood to come back to the ventricles. That's the function. Alright, so they are similar valves. Why? Because they look like the half moon. Okay, they look like the half moon. That's why they are also called as semilunar valves of aorta and semilunar valves of pulmonary artery. So these are all about your your valves. Okay, so now let me tell you once the flow of blood or the circulation of blood through human heart. Okay, let's see now. First, what happens is that these upper regions, okay, these upper regions are already full of blood. Okay, they are already expanded, so they are all full of blood. So this side it is deoxygenated blood, this side it is oxygenated blood. Then when the contraction takes place in this region, okay, when the contraction takes place in this region, then what will happen is that the blood from this region will be pushed down, okay, to the respective ventricles, from right auricle to right ventricle, from left auricle to left ventricle. Okay, then what happens then? Immediately, okay, immediately, it's not that it takes long time, no, very immediately, soon after the contraction of this, contraction of this gets over, then it will follow. This contraction of the, your ventricle follows, then that time a heavy force is formed, then the blood will flow through the respective vessels, blood vessels. So from this right ventricle, the blood will flow to the lungs for purification through this your pulmonary artery, all right, and from the left ventricle, the blood will go to the different parts of the body through this aorta, Okay, so this is how the blood, the circulation of the blood takes place to the human heart. Then what happens is that from here, from this your pulmonary artery, the blood will be taken to the lungs for purification. All right. Then after purification, all right, they will be they will be brought back to the auricles. Okay, then auricles will, which auricle? Left auricle. From left auricle it goes down again to the ventricle, and from there it will be supplied to the different parts of the body. Then in the parts of the body, what happens is that after the respiration, blood will be impure, and that impure blood will be collected by this superior vena cava and inferior vena cava into this right auricle, and from right auricle to the ventricle, and from ventricle and back to the lungs for purification. So this is how the this circulation of the blood takes place through the human heart. All right. Now we'll see heartbeat. Heartbeat. Okay, so your heart beats. Your this organ called this heart continuously contracts and relaxes. Okay, contracts and relaxes. All right, till we survive. Okay, it never gets tired. So as long as we survive, it gets relaxed. It gets contracted and relaxed. All right, and this contraction and relaxation of the heart take place in sequence, in rhythm. All right, so this continuous contraction and relaxation of the heart is called your heartbeat. That produces a kind of sound called lop dop like that. So that is heartbeat. All right, so how it happens? Okay, how it happens is, you see, first of all, this auricles contract. Okay, auricles contract, and which take about 0.15 second. Okay, 0.15 second. 0.15 second. Then immediately followed, as soon as it gets over, the contraction of contraction of your ventricles take place. Then again contraction of your ventricle take place, which take about 0.3 second, 0.30 second. Okay, then this one then all the chambers now relax. All the chambers now relax, which take about 0.40 second. 0.40 seconds. So in total it is how much? 0.85 seconds. So that long it takes for one complete cycle. Okay, for one complete sequence of contraction and relaxation of the heart, takes about 0.85 seconds. So this much it takes. So in an average 7 to 72 times per minute the heartbeat actually takes place. That means heartbeat is counted about 72 times per minute. So for every cycle, for every cardiac cycle, so there is how much? 0.85 second it takes. All right, so this contraction relaxation continuously goes on, and the contraction of the heart, okay, contraction of the heart is called systole. It's called what? Systole. Contraction of the heart is called systole, and the contraction and the relaxation of the heart is called diastole. Systole and diastole. Okay, systole and diastole. Okay, contraction of the heart as a whole, if I have to tell you, is called systole, and relaxation of the heart is called diastole. So that when the blood pressure is measured, okay, when the blood pressure is measured, always these two things are considered: systolic pressure and diastolic. Okay, that means systolic is when it is contracted. Okay, when the ventricles contracts, that time a heavy force is formed. With that force, the blood has to go to the different parts of the body via this artery or via this aorta. Okay, or this via this arteries. So that time the exertion of the blood on the wall of the artery is called blood pressure impact. So that time, during the time of contraction, how force it is, how big the force is, that is the upper limit, that is systolic pressure. Okay, that is systolic pressure, and when it relaxes, that time the blood will flow inside, and that time the pressure will be minimum, which is called diastolic pressure, systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. So usually 120 upon 80, okay, is considered to be the normal blood pressure of an adults. This is what we have understood so far. So that's all because of the contraction and relaxation of the heart. Okay, contraction of the heart is called systole, and the relaxation of the heart is called diastole. All right, so that's all about your human heart, your blood vessels, your valves, and the blood circulation through the human heart. All right, and that's all about your heartbeat. Even I've told you cardiac cycle and systole and diastole. So these are the things that you have to understand. All right, so I think you have understood everything that I've told you. So please refer to the book. Please go through the chapter, go through the portion that I have taught, and try to understand 100%. All right, and try to learn with the help of the diagram, which are the parts there and the function of the parts. So where does the blood flow pass, and from there where it goes. So if you go through the chapter with the help of the diagram, then it will be easy for you. Okay, so I hope you have understood. So today we'll do only this much. Thank you very much.